Well, this is our first ever that we've done. It's the Hunt Community Fine Arts Show and Sale, and we did it at the Hunt Preservation Society Pavilion that they have there in town, which from what I learned, they used to have events there all the time.
The Texas Hill Country is one of the most beautiful places on earth. In this podcast, recent Hill Country resident Tom Fox visits with the people and organizations that make this one of the most unique areas of Texas. Join Tom as he explores the people, places, and their activities of the Texas Hill Country.
In this episode, I visit with Hill Country artist Nancy Huffman to talk to us about painting the Hill Country. Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode of the Hill Country podcast. And although we usually have a cup of coffee while we're at Starbucks, we both have tea today because it's a bit warm. But I'm thrilled to have with me Nancy Huffman. Nancy, first of all, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me today.
Well, thanks for inviting me to come on. It's really an exciting thing that you do.
Well, Nancy, we met last weekend, the weekend of July 4th, at the Hunt Art Fair. The town of Hunt, just down the road from Kerrville, had an art fair focusing on local artists, and you were there exhibiting and saw your work and was really intrigued with your work, your story. So I wanted to maybe ask you to tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, well, this is our first ever that we've done. It's the Hunt Community Fine Arts Show and Sale, and we did it at the Hunt Preservation Society Pavilion that they have there in town, which from what I learned, they used to have events there all the time. So we're just continuing that. And we decided that there's so many artists that are out in Hunt that we wanted to focus on them and bring them out all into the public so other people can appreciate what they do.
So I found out you're a fellow TSIP. So
Yes.
First of all, hook 'em.
Yes.
We always have to celebrate the Longhorns that come on the podcast. But where did you grow up, and what took you to Austin College?
Well, I was born in Texas, and my parents are from Arkansas, but I still considered myself to be a Texan, even though I graduated from school in Arkansas. And so the second I graduated from high school, I came back and I went to UT because I just thought that that was the place to go, and it was. It was a great place.
That it was.
Yeah.
What did you major in at UT?
A studio art, of course. I'm an artist.
So you must have been drawing from a very young age.
I have done that forever. I couldn't even tell you the first time I did it, but I do remember my first major art teacher, because when I was in school, we didn't really have art classes per se, maybe, a couple of weeks here or there. But when I was 13, I had begged my parents to take art classes. So they enrolled me in the community center art class. So I was taking classes with, let's just say, a bunch of older women, kind of like I am now. So anyway, it was fun. They all accepted me, and it was great fun. That was Maxine Tidwell. That's the main teacher I ever remember in my life.
When did you move to the Hill Country?
Just 4 years ago. My second career in my life was being a studio art teacher in high school, and I had to wait till I retired, of course. But the second everybody graduated that year, we were moving up here Memorial Day weekend. I'll never forget that.
So you guys were you were ready to move to the Hill Country? Had
Yes.
you already picked this place out?
We had already bought a house here. It was waiting for us, and that's all we had to do was pack up all our things and come.
Where were you living before you moved here?
Katy,
Okay.
Texas. Yeah, that's where I taught high school.
We moved from Cypress.
Awesome, not far away.
Not far away.
Yeah.
Why the Hill Country?
It's a place I had always wanted to come to ever since I was in college, because one of my next door roommates was from Comfort, and just the Hill Country, the idea of the Hill Country always intrigued me, and there's a big emphasis on art out here in this community, so it was a natural draw for me.
Well, let's explore that, the art community here in the Hill Country. I'm going to say
course.
Kerrville or even Kerr County.
Uh-huh.
Could you just describe it for me, and let's just talk about that.
The art community here, well, it's very welcoming. That's one thing that's really great. Immediately when I moved here, I started searching out groups of artists that were here already. So I could go plein air painting. I found a watercolor group right in Hunt. Fell into that just right away. So it was pretty natural. I mean, they do plein air painting festivals here most years. I think there were a couple of years during that COVID span that they didn't, but every year they do that. So there's always something going on, and music too, for that matter.
The music scene here really surprised me. I'd been to the folk festival multiple times over its existence, but the local music scene, I think every restaurant we go to almost has a musician. Certainly from Thursday to Sunday, and some of them a lot more than that. And it's, as I told someone this morning, if there's a rock scene in Kerrville, I haven't found it, because it's all singer-songwriters.
Right. And it's something you wouldn't expect in a small city.
And that's one of the reasons it's a lot like Austin when we were in college to me.
Yes. It was an amazing time to be there, and this is just equally so.
So let's turn to your artwork, and I had a chance to take a look at your website, so I got a little bit of a flavor of your work, but you do something that I'd never heard, which is called contemporary impressionistic style. Could you describe that for us?
Well, it's a looser painting style that I prefer to use. When I draw, I do things differently. I'm more realistic, because then I'm really exploring and analyzing things. But when I paint, I like it to be a lot freer and looser. And when I think of contemporary impressionism, it marries the loose brush strokes of the impressionist with more bold, vibrant colors that you see in contemporary work.
So what do you see in the hill country landscape, the hill country animals, livestock, that so inspires you as an artist?
To me, it goes back to the constant struggle between drought and deluge. I mean, those are the kinds of things that inspire me. You see it in the rocks, you see it in the rivers, the plants that hang on to life and survive. It's just that struggle of things, I think. And it's just kind of an austere beauty, I think, that you find here that you don't find too many other places.
When we lived in Cypress, which is on the far northwest side of Houston, the sunrises were spectacular for Houston. And because we were so far west, I used to say it was sunrise over a chemical plant, but because the colors would be so disoriented. But nothing compares to the sunrises here and the colors here. So I was wondering, how do you think about that as an artist, and how do you incorporate just the vibrancy of color that I see even sitting at Starbucks into your work?
Well, I mean, without giving away the tricks of the trade, which of course there are some, you just really, I mean, when I paint it, I'm really trying to focus on the subtleties of the color, but then again, to bring in touches of the real vibrant colors as well. I feel that if you kind of contrast the more gray tones against the vibrant tones mean more at that point in time. Because you don't make everything bright, and some people might think garish. I think to focus on those and contrast them with the grays make more sense to me.
The other thing that has struck me here is the variations in topography, even from Kerrville to Hunt. But if you then go towards Fredericksburg, it changes again. And if you go towards Junction, it changes again. And so I really wanted to explore that with you, to ask, do you incorporate the different types of topology that you see? Is even, the bluffs of the north bank of the Guadalupe and Hunt, or any of those, what I think are just gorgeous parts of that part of Kirk County, as opposed to Kerrville, Kirk County? Well,
to me, that just that's part of what tells the story of the way the land has evolved through time, and it's largely a sense of time. I just learned recently, too, that this part of the hill country is the southernmost part of the Appalachian range, which really kind of shocked me. I don't think of us as being part of the Appalachian Mountains, but we are.
Wow. I'm I just went out actually to the Pecos Mountains. Lived in Texas all my life. I had no idea we had 9,000-foot mountains in Texas.
Yes.
So I'm just getting used to that, and you're now telling me that it comes all the way across Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, all the way to here.
And it comes down through Arkansas, too. The Ouachitas
are the
part of that.
Ozarks?
I'm not sure about the Ozarks, but the Ouachitas definitely, and then we're the southernmost part of that range. So, you know, I'll put a plug in for this too. I like to do Master Naturalist here too. So I love all that science part as well. I didn't tell you that was part of all the different kinds of majors I did in college. So.
Well, that takes us to
anyway.
the next topic I wanted to explore with you, which is nature journaling. And you have taught classes on this topic online. So I was wondering first if you could tell us, what is nature journaling?
Okay, it's really a way of recording maybe your thoughts. It could go to your scientific observations. It can be anything that you are observing while you're immersed in nature. So you could be a scientist. I mean, when you think about in times past, they used to teach those things in school. Drawing, it was part of everyday curriculum, just like reading and writing would be. It was a way of recording your thoughts and taking notes. You know, everybody did a little bit of drawing, just like they did a little bit of writing and a little bit of math. So it's just an extension of learning, really.
So you're an artist.
Yes.
I'm a podcaster.
Yes.
I'm also a blogger and writer, written a few books. Can those forms of communication be used in nature journaling?
I suppose they could. I mean, I come from the visual arts world, so that was a natural for me, but I don't see any reason why somebody could not record it in a different manner.
So there's a society you belong to, and I'm sorry I've forgotten the name, but it's around nature journaling. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, well, I do nature journaling as part of, I belong to the Native Plant Society of Texas as well. And the nature journaling that I teach is through them. So it's just an extension. I started it largely because, you know, I told you I'm an artist, of course, and of course artists keep sketchbooks and all that. So I've done that my whole life. But I never really got into the nature journaling part until, okay, I guess a trip to Spain a few years back when I was still teaching. I won a teaching grant, and another teacher and I went to southern Spain. And part of what we were doing was learning how to use drawing as part of teaching science. So we were doing some of that, a little bit of plein air painting and things like that for a month in southern Spain. So when we came back, we took not only our art classes out, we took the science students out, and we all did this for a day because, like I said, it's just an extension of learning. So when you sit down and observe something, you know, you're kind of quiet in the world and you have to take things apart and really, really look at it more closely. It's so much different than taking photos. You know, people say all the time, well, I just take photos of it and then you've got it and they understand it, but you don't really understand it the same way. When I was a master naturalist in the Katy area, I was taking a class in botany because I wanted to learn more about botany. And the lady was a trained botanist, and she was phenomenally knowledgeable. However, she could rattle off every Latin name that would go straight through one side of my head and out the other, and the next month when we'd come back, I'd forgotten everything. So this helps me learn it, because you have to sit down and you have to really explore it and take it apart and look at it. So that's why I did it.
So, you used a phrase I'm not sure our audience may be aware of, plein air painting. Could you explain that?
Plein air painting is, you may see groups of artists that have their easels outside, and they are literally painting from the scene they see right there in front of them. They don't rely on photos or anything else. They're doing it there in real time. And it's a very difficult way to paint because you're constantly seeing the light and shadows shift before your eyes. So you have to really develop a lot of speed that you work. You have to really simplify the scene in front of you. But it's extremely challenging.
So Kirk Douglas as Vincent Van Gogh, and
Yes, he did it. He was a master.
in the movie Van Gogh, he
Uh-huh.
paints in the field. That's
Yes.
plein air. That was
That is
plein air
plein
painting.
air painting.
That was legit.
That was legit.
Okay.
Very much so.
And Anthony Quinn doing the same as Paul Gauguin.
Gauguin.
Gauguin was the same.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yes, there's a rich history of it in art. Even after photography, artists still do it. I mean, you don't learn about things nearly as well from photographs as you learn out in nature. Not even close.
So you've obviously had this passion all your life.
Of course.
What do you say to the young woman, young man who's still a teenager, still struggling, still insatiably curious? What do you tell them?
Just never give up. Keep practicing, of course. Everybody has skills, whether they're nature journaling or plein air painting. It takes time to develop things, and you really have to be patient with yourself to do that. So keep at it.
The thing I learned, unfortunately, way late in life, because I was so much older then, I'm much younger than that now, and much more open, is to learn your craft, and whatever your craft is.
Whatever it is.
And was there a point where you felt like you had mastered your craft, or was it just a gradual thing and you're still evolving?
It's still evolving constantly. You never feel like you've totally mastered it. I mean, there might be some elements of art that I feel like I've mastered, but you're always learning, no matter what. You always see more things that you can try. There's so many styles of art, different ways of using color. I mean, I don't see how anybody could ever learn it all.
So after the success of the Hunt Art Fair over the 4th of July weekend,
Yes.
do you anticipate or even hope that there'll be more events in Hunt, or are you looking forward to some other events in the Hill Country this fall that you could tell us about?
Well, we will be doing, we don't have the dates yet, not the specific location, but we will be doing a holiday market. Probably either late November, early December. We have to secure our place. We're thinking we're going to do it this time, though, at the volunteer fire department there in Hunt, because it will be a closed space. We anticipate it could be cold at that time. So,
Will you be showing at any of the art events or fairs in the fall?
none that I have booked yet.
And if someone wanted more information on yourself, your work, or to just see some of the things you've done, what would be the best place for them to go?
Well, nancyhuffman.com. Very easy to find. I have that website, and I have all the way from landscapes. I have small art pieces because I also like to do watercolor for birds and wildflowers and that sort of thing as well.
And I would also say that if you click her blog tab, it's really not blogs, but it's about a lot of other local artists. And there's a lot of information about local artists, both their contact information and some of their artwork. So I wanted to thank you for putting that out there for us to see.
Those were all the artists that participated in our last show. So, and I hope that they will all decide to come back again in the winter for our show. And then we'll be doing again next summer. 4th of July was a big success, so we hope to make that an annual event.
Nancy, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to visit with me. I really enjoyed it, and thanks for putting on the Hunt Art Fair.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it, and I learned a tremendous amount doing it too. I never knew anything about PR before, so it was challenging, to say the least.
This is Tom Fox again. I'm going to link to Nancy's website as well as her Facebook and Instagram accounts. I hope you'll check those out. She's got some really great artwork on her website and her other pages. If you look at it, you will clearly see what I saw and why I was so thrilled to be able to visit with her as well. She's got some interesting resources on her blog site about other local artists in not only Hunt, but also Kirk County and the greater Hill Country. So check all of those artists out as well. I hope you will join me next week for another episode of the award-winning Hill Country Podcast, where we look at the people, places, and things on this great part of the state of Texas.